Dr. Evan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. Caleb and I have talked about it. He's like, you got to get Evan on. You got to get Evan on. Yeah. Finally. I want to start with the ultra marathon that you just did. And I'll start with when I met up with you guys to run a few miles with you, I think I don't know if you were just starting to cramp up or whatever, but you were like going through some pain at like mile 26 or something like that. And then you still did another 20 miles on top of that. Like, what was that ultra like? And like, what was it like to kind of like push through those difficult miles?
I never thought I would ever do something that hard in my life. And nor did I really understand how hard it would be. Like, yes, I knew it was going to be hard, but I'd also heard about people doing 100-milers, and I'm like, guys, it's only 46. I can do it. It's okay. But my furthest training run, maybe my fault, maybe it's exactly what was meant to happen, was only 9 miles. And it wasn't even a consecutive run. It was spread out throughout the day. So it was actually around the 9-mile mark felt real good. Mile 10 hit, dude, my legs started cramping hard. And I've had the water flowing, I had the Camelback on, some hand water bottles, had electrolytes. And I was like, there's no way this is a hydration thing. This has just got to be my body in shock. Yeah. It's never done something like this. Yeah. Mile 10 was rough. It kept getting worse and worse. And it wasn't just one leg. Now it was both. And it wasn't just those two spots. It was the entire leg. And that's when you found me at the end of the marathon mark. That was where it was the worst. And I had to walk that beginning of the second marathon. But thankfully we had an experienced ultra marathoner there that was like, okay, I need to take inventory of what's happening. She checked in with me. I was like, I've been cramping for a long time. This sucks. She's like, okay, we need to throw some food down the pipe and we need to drink a ton of pickle juice. Saved me. So I started feeling really good again on the back end of the marathon. When I first started cramping, I remember talking to Caleb. I was like, yo, this is the worst pain I've ever felt. And I can't turn it off. Even if I stopped moving, my legs felt like they were falling off. I started to feel really good. Body was back in it. And then we hit the 36 mile mark. We had 10 more miles to go. We were on our way back. And that's when my mentality started breaking. It was fascinating to observe. I'm a nature lover. I'm what you would consider a tree hugger, right? I think it's just a part of who we are. I've never, ever genuinely thought I want to see the world burn. And I thought it that day. I was like, I don't ever want to see another tree again. I hate this place. Yeah. It was a reflection of how I was feeling inside. And it was being projected out into my reality around me. And I see that happen often with just being a chiropractor too. If people are in pain and it changes how they respond and how they react and how they engage with the world and the people around them. And I got a taste of that. It was, again, fascinating to observe. And I remember we had about a mile left, and I looked at Jordan and Caleb next to me. I was like, guys, we made it. We don't have to keep running. We can walk this mile and still make it with plenty of time. I'm done. I'm tapped. There's nothing left. And somehow Caleb and Jitro just didn't say a word, and they just kept jogging. And I'm like, well, shit. Okay, I got to keep jogging then.
Can't be left behind.
Yeah. And then I saw the finish line with my own eyes, and they were just like, see, we made it. Just keep running through. And I actually picked it up from a 15-minute mile pace to a 7:30-minute mile pace to finish, and I was just on fire. Yeah. Then I finished, and I don't know why, but I just started bawling. I just laid down on the grass. I was like, everyone knew not to talk to me, not to be near me. I was processing something big. Mm-hmm. And it was just the fact that I've done the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Yeah. And it was
by far. Yeah. By far.
It was crazy.
So like the mile 10 thing, like, do you think like how much of it is like mental, or is it like your body like breaking down, or is it like just you're just like not used to that? So are you kind of creating that pain, or is that like your muscles are not activating or functioning properly? Yeah.
That's a really good question. Like I said, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do that's physical. So I got to see the evolution of how things break down and the order of which they happen. That mile 10 mark, mentally and emotionally, I was on fire. It was early in the day. I was hardly sweating. changed my shoes, feet felt great, literally just a physical thing. Like legs were just tired. This is the furthest they've ran, and they know they got another 30 miles on.
Yeah, yeah.
So that part was definitely physical, and then that's where I thought like, okay, this has got to be the hardest part of it. If I can get through this, I can make it through the rest of it.
Yeah.
Then the mentality started to like fade around that marathon mark where I was like, I got nothing left. I've been cramping for 12 miles.
Yeah.
Then on the way back, when I said I wanted to see the world burn, dude, that was physical has depleted, mental has depleted, emotional has depleted. Now I'm running on pure source energy, like pure spirit. It was wild. But it was cool to see the breakdown and the order of which that all happened, because it gives me an idea of like what other people are going through, and maybe not such an extreme case, but in a minor case, day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, crazy. What's your one big takeaway from that you've learned from running the ultra?
Dude, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Anyone can do anything.
Yeah.
If any human has ever done it, that means you can do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Eli Kipchoge. He broke the 2-hour marathon mark. Before he did that, all exercise scientists, all biomechanics, all of like the top of the top researchers said that it is impossible for the human to break that. It is physiologically and physically impossible for the body to break that barrier. He did it, and then everyone started doing it. So literally, if anyone has ever done anything, you can do it. I promise.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, I mean, just seeing you guys like run that, it kind of like motivates you too, to like challenge yourself too. And honestly, like that's when the first day we met, when we were in the 15, like that, the reason I ran 15 that day was because Caleb was like, I want to do something hard. I'm just like in that phase of like, I want to challenge myself to do hard things or whatever. And like, I'd just gotten back into running, and I'd only run 15 miles, I think once or twice before, maybe once.
Dude, you looked on fire.
And and I was like, okay, let's, I'll give it a try. Let's go. Right. But yeah, you just kind of, you get locked in, and I mean, the pain is there, right, from running and being on your feet for that long. But yeah, you can do
perseverance.
Yeah. Even if you just push a little bit past like what you think you're capable of, right? There's a lot you can learn in that moment. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Do you have an example of that, of something that you've seen play out in your life, where if you were just like, I'm about to give it up, let me just give it one more push and then we'll call it?
I think probably just I go back to like running, and maybe not a certain example of like one time, but just like training for half marathons, training for different runs, and now like starting to lift weights and stuff. Like I've noticed that, right? Like I feel like we always have a lot more in us than we actually think we do. There's more juice there.
There always is. Yeah. That's what I found out on that run. It was just example after example, time after time, where I thought I'd give up, and I just somehow didn't. There was always more in the tank.
There's I was reading the book recently. I can't think of the name right now. I think it was from this book, where they talk about we have like an unlimited supply of energy, and even though you're feeling tired or whatever, like you have the energy inside you. Like you don't necessarily need some caffeine or whatever to kind of boost you and get you through the day or whatever it is. Like you have a ton of energy inside of you that's untapped. And they gave the example of like if something happened, like some extreme, like if you were like going about your day and you needed this boost of energy, like some extreme event happened, you could tap into that source of energy and pull from it. You don't need any additional resources or whatever. So I go back to like, training and running and stuff. Like we have a lot more energy than we give ourselves credit for.
1000%. I think the biggest piece to that, just studying the nervous system and the human emotions and kind of developing a language for how I can better understand people's experience, came through my own experience. And something that I recognized that gives me a ton of energy, I was brought back to when I was a kid, where I remember I had one birthday. I was maybe 15 or 16. I was 16 because I was able to drive. And I had friends over for a little slumber party. We stayed up till like 3 or 4 a.m. doing everything. We were playing football in the streets. We'd play manhunt at night. Then we'd go and like play video games and watch movies and wrestle around in the rooms. And then we'd get 2 or 3 hours of sleep, and we'd wake up at 6 or 7 a.m. to get breakfast and go to Adventure Island together. And somehow I was on fire. Just, I don't need sleep. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to have fun. And I think the any kind of excitement or novelty will pull that like last piece of reserve energy out of you, because it's just, I'm excited for something. I have to be awake. It's almost like FOMO, but it's the internal side of it.
I think back to, I mean, like just like trying to, so I wake up at 4:30 if I'm going to go to the gym, like that's my time to go lift. And so I wake up at 4:30, and it's easier when I'm excited about the workout or excited about something, right? Or even like you said, like if you're waking up to do something that is fun to you, whatever that is, like it is easy to wake up. It's not even like a thought. It's just like, okay, I'm awake. Let's go.
Let's do it.
You know, what time is it? 2 a.m. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, so let's talk about like chiropractic and how you even got started in that. Like, where did that come from?
That was it all happened by happenstance, man. And even just looking back on it now, I truly do believe everything happens for a reason, and typically for you at the perfect time that it needed to happen at. I went through all of undergrad knowing that I wanted to help people. Didn't know exactly what my style was going to be. I explored a little bit of nursing, nurse anesthetist, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and none of it really landed. And then I got my associates from one undergrad school, and then I switched over to UCF in Orlando, and that's where I finished it out. In that move, a lot of like relationships were broken, friendships were kind of lost to the wayside. I kind of packed up my stuff and left without telling anyone. I think it was my way of unintentionally creating a clean slate for me to get a bigger picture of where I was trying to go in life, because I knew I wasn't going to find it there. So like, when I got to UCF,
Were you aware of it during that time of like trying to like let me okay.
No, I think I just needed, it's like when you go to the mountaintops. It's just different than your everyday life, and all of a sudden there's a lot more clarity around like all that paperwork on my desk doesn't matter. Look at how big this world is, right? So that offering the different perspective created a clear slate, and I think internally I knew that's what was needed, but I wasn't conscious of that choice. So I got to UCF. It was probably the lowest point in my life. Very lonely, very depressed, unmotivated, no idea what I was doing. Didn't have any social skills, so I had a very hard time making friends, especially like going into a college that you're already a junior in. You're already meeting people that have their clique in their group. Mm-hmm. And I actually remember one day I played, like, I swear, 16 hours of video games one day. And I just noticed it, and I was like, what is this? Is this how life is? I hate this. And then a couple days later, it was like one thing after another. They started lining up. A couple days later, I was going on a little walk around the apartment complex. I lived on the 5th floor. I had to walk up 5 flights of stairs, and I was gassed at the top. I was like, yo, this is not good. I'm in an exercise science program. This is not good for me to be winded at the top of. And granted, 5 flights of stairs never gets easy, but it definitely gets harder, and that's where I was. Yeah. So it just started like sparking this concern, and then I started going to try to exercise more. I started going to the school gym. I bought a little box bike from Dick's Sporting Goods just to go out on the trails and ride my bike a little bit, and I started to feel a little better, but I was still so resistant to going to the gym and like taking care of my health. So I started asking deeper questions like, why can't I just take care of myself? Why do I keep coming up with all these excuses? And that's when I started to look to drugs. No hard drugs, but like marijuana. And it started opening my mind to this deeper side of life where there's more than just this physical plane of existence. And I remember I didn't want to like keep smoking, so I Googled how to get high on your own supply. That's
exactly what you typed in.
Yep. I swear, it was so funny. And I've never heard anyone say that. It was just like an idea. Of course, saw a ton of breathwork videos. Had no idea what it was, and I didn't really have an itch to do it, but everyone was suggesting meditation. So I would end up every day, if not every other day, I would take my bike to the park, and I'd go into the deepest part of the park I could. And there was this little bridge with a little tiny baby waterfall, and I'd sit there, and I downloaded this app called Headspace where they'd walk you through like a little 10-minute meditation, and I would just sit there. And I remember they said, watch your thoughts and think about the clouds in the sky. The clouds in the sky are there now, and they won't be in 5 minutes. Same with your thoughts if you don't engage with them. And I just thought that was really interesting. And I think that cued me into a lot of bigger questions, like what is life about? What is this internal voice in my head? What is this inner reality versus external reality? What is everything? And I started getting really curious about meditation, Buddhism, all these things, and I was like, man, if only I had a little monk mentor that could just sit here and, you know, hit me on the back with a switch when I let my mind wander. And I was like, that's just not realistic, so I got to be my own mentor in this. And I started diving down into philosophy books and just kind of exploring with an open mind. I'm not great with religions. I think I was more Christian when I was younger because my grandparents and my parents. But we were more like Creaster goers, like Christmas, Easter. Yeah. So I never really understood anything that was going on in religion. But when I heard about Buddhism, it got me really interested. And then I started checking out like all the religions. And I was just like, there's a similar message here. And it's just saying, almost, like, you ever heard of the Tao? The Tao.
Oh, yeah.
Talks about effortless effort. Yeah. And if you just open your mind up to letting these opportunities come to you as you equally think about them, they will find you effortlessly. And it was all so perfectly timed. I was coming up on my last semester at UCF, and I was about to graduate. I had no clue what I was doing. I had no job lined up. And the last semester, I walked into one of my first classes, and there was this guy that was a chiropractor as my professor. And he said, if you guys want to come in to my office and check out what I'm about, check out chiropractic in the first 2 weeks of school, I'll give you a free exam and give you an adjustment, see how it goes. And I've never been someone that engaged in that sort of invite. And for some reason, this was the first one. I was just like, I got to go try this out. I got to go check this out. The guy's pretty cool. So Dr. Daniel Warner, I'll never forget him. He adjusted me, or he did a few exams and like showed me some stuff. I remember my shoulder couldn't raise up like any higher than that. Granted, I was pretty unhealthy in the first place. And he adjusted me and he goes, see how high that can go? I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What is this?
What just happened?
Yeah. How does this work? So then I started asking more and more questions about my body. And I just kept coming to see him. I called my parents. And I was like, yo, this guy just offered me like a chiropractic care plan. I've never heard of it. Never heard of chiropractic. I was 22 years old. Never heard of it. I want to give it a try. And they were like, yeah, go for it. So I saw him weekly, saw massive change. But the change for me was different. I wasn't in pain. It was like that brain fog, depression, loneliness, lack of self-worth almost. And it just started clearing up where I became more and more inquisitive. I became more and more excited. I became more and more motivated to like take care of myself. And one night he was like, yo, Palmer Chiropractic is where I graduated. They're coming to Cooper's Hawk. If you want to go to a dinner, it's free. They're just going to tell you about the school, give out little pamphlets or whatever you want. And I was just like, sure. I went, thought it was really cool, applied probably the next night.
Crazy.
And got in. And I was like, okay, there's the next step.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild.
How long of a time period was that from like the first time you met the doctor till you applied to a chiropractic school?
Probably 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
Because that was as long as the semester was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
It moved fast. And that's, again, how I know it was just like effortless effort.
Yeah.
I knew that there was something to it. It didn't feel like work, and it was just falling into place in front of my eyes. It's like, I got to follow this path.
Yeah.
And it really paid off.
It's wild that you never had experienced chiropractic before, never ran into it, and then just like timing of it all. I've talked to a few different chiropractors, and it seems like I don't think anyone that I've spoken with has like planned or grew up wanting to be a chiropractor. You know, it just kind of like circumstances, things, their path changes, and this opportunity is there. And then they gravitate towards it, right? For many reasons. But it is interesting. Do you think that's changing at all? Because I know like the awareness around chiropractic, right? Like the openness to it, I think is changing. Is people are starting to utilize it more. Do you see that changing at all since you've been a chiropractor?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people don't seek chiropractic. It finds those individuals that are placed perfectly in the world to be that lighthouse or that beacon for the people around them, except for the ones that come from a lineage of chiropractors. And those guys are typically fantastic chiropractors for years. And then he became a doc, and he's just taken off because he's had so many years doing it. To go back to the original question, there are more and more chiropractors out there, and it's hard when you find a chiropractor that's passionate about what they do. The kid rarely grows up not wanting to be a chiropractor, you know, because it's like, personally, it's the greatest career out there. Yeah. It is unbelievable. And if I lived in my truth and in my passion, and I lived out of integrity, and my life was good as life can get, because there's some hard parts about it, but a kid would see that and be highly inspired, be like, I want to do what you're doing. You're helping all these people. You're the mayor of the town without being the mayor of the town. What is this? So then they'd always grow up and like want to be that. So I do think it's growing for sure.
What do you love about chiropractic so much?
Oh, another good question. I think about the empowerment aspect of it. It truly gives people the power and the education about the fundamental. It's almost the user manual for the body. How do we have a user manual for our computer and our coffee maker? But we came into this world with the most complex technology existence has ever seen, and we don't have a user manual for it, nor do we really have the access to the information. We have to go through school, graduate school, to get that. And then we live in this world of technology where we have billions of search pages come up when you say, what diet should I be on? It's so overwhelming. And being a chiropractor that is integrity and embodied in what I practice and what I preach, it allows me to speak from a place of experience of, hey, I know what you're going through. This worked for me. Try this before you do anything else. And typically chiropractic always comes back down to, it's deductive in reasoning. So it's, you have this issue. Well, let's not focus on this issue. Let's go back to the very beginning of how the body actually works. Yeah. The nervous system runs everything. It is the master control center of everything that happens in your body. And it's designed to be perfect. Lifestyle choices, habits, society, they all create this disconnect from man the physical and man the spiritual, basically our highest self. Yeah. So when we are having a hard time being healthy, we have these crazy diseases come up, we're in pain and nothing's really changing. We have to go back to the fundamentals of the nervous system has to be fully effective in what it's trying to do in order for you to even have a chance to heal anything. So it's so basic in its understanding that no matter who walks in your door, I can help you. Right. Period. Right. And it starts there. It starts with, let's clear the nervous system. Then you do have to go home and do the discipline and the taking care of yourself part. That's the homework of it. Yeah. Because I'm not Jesus, right? No matter how much I want to be. You know, I love my people. I want to help them, but I'm here to make sure that the nervous system stays clear, and I'm going to give you every tool in my belt. And as a human, I'm going to help you find your answer and what you need next. And I think that's really empowering for people. Mm-hmm. And to add to that, like surgeons, they're out there saving people's lives all the time, but there's so much risk involved in being a surgeon that you do a 16-hour surgery and you go try to sleep and you're worried that person's going through post-op okay. Yeah. And you wake up and you just have your fingers crossed. Yeah. I get to go home every single night knowing that my people are safe and better. Yeah. You know? Yeah, I think like when I first started seeing Dr. Caleb, you know, it was just kind of like that, like I want to be healthier and that sort of thing, and it's progressed since I've seen him too, right? And like adding in the weight training and just different movements and stuff have, like, I think really just like taken it up another level on like how I feel, how my mind is like kind of throughout the day, and it's made it, you know, it makes a huge impact. Do you guys see, I know like your practice, like what you guys do is a little bit different than I think most chiropractor offices, right? But like, do you see a lot of your patients, are they like, they're coming to you because of an accident, or are they coming to you because of they just want to be healthier and be the best version of themselves? Yeah, most people are coming to a chiropractor because there's pain involved. Yeah. That's just how people in society handle things nowadays. Just go until you can't, and then do something about it when that point comes. Yeah. It's very reactive rather than proactive. A piece of that is just being educated on what proactive means, and that proactive health is actually a choice. Yeah. You know, you can be proactive about it. You're just choosing to be more reactive, you know, and giving that education behind why and how. Yeah. Yeah. Where do you see chiropractic medicine going in the next
let's say 5-10 years?
Like you said, we do things a little differently at the source.
Yeah.
I think this is what we call the new gen chiros. I think we're onto something.
Yeah.
It's getting away from the doctor-patient hierarchy. It's getting away from treatment of things, and it's getting to this place of relatability between someone that has answers and someone that's seeking answers. So it's no longer so divided. It's, I'm a human being present with another human, and I'm not invalidating your story. I'm not saying, I'm sorry you feel this way, because that inherently points to that there is some way that they should be feeling. It's, wow, that must be so hard. I can't imagine what you're going through. Or if you can't imagine, you just say like little things that in your own language say the same thing that they just said, or make assumptions on, like, I watched a Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking to JD, the new vice president that Trump wants. And JD was talking about the day Trump asked him to be vice president, and when he said yes, Joe was like, took it a layer deeper and was like, yo, how was that? Like, how much in that moment when you had that phone call, how much was going through your mind? And then right after that, how did things change? Like, how was your day to day after that? And I think Joe is a master of communication and connection and showing like he is understanding of where you're coming from. He's an example of where I think chiropractic is going to be going soon. Just the presence, connection, and validity of other people's experiences.
Yeah, like do the way that Americans think about healthcare, like is that changing and shifting towards that?
God, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
There's some really good professions out there, like naturopaths, acupuncturists, herbal medicine people. There's so many good professions out there that are working towards helping people just handle life a little better.
Yeah, like more preventative, like you just, yeah.
But there's also just this mass amount of people that are still more reactive than proactive about their health. And I think it's that threshold. So once enough people start being preventative about their care, the whole table will start to turn.
Yeah.
But right now we're still climbing towards that threshold. I think most healthcare people are moving in that direction.
Yeah. And I think I've seen this in some insurance companies too, like healthcare insurance, like they're offering incentives or whatever for preventative care. Maybe not to like go see a chiropractor, like we'll cover that cost, but like we'll offer discounts if you're healthy or maintain this level of health or whatever. So they get people to think about being preventative.
Yeah, well said. The insurance game is tough.
Yeah.
Because they just try to dictate like what your care needs, and because they aren't doing the exam.
Right.
They didn't go to school for anything, and yet somehow they have the ability to tell you what they're going to help you pay for and what they're not. The wellness is a step in the right direction. I genuinely think we just have to change the definition of healthcare. Healthcare is not taking care of your health when the wheels have already fallen off.
Yeah.
Healthcare is taking care of the health, right? It's easier to keep you healthy than to get you out of disease or fix your pain. Right? Let's make sure that you stay healthy. That's the easiest way to do it. I think one of the philosophies in chiropractic is disease is not a thing or an entity. It is the lack thereof. It is the lack of health. You know, and it's just a sign of symptom of that. So the more we can take care of our health, the more that definition changes. I think the mass understanding of proactive health would be changed.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you look at like your health and like what are you doing to be the healthiest version of yourself? Like what are your pillars or like the main things that you're focused on or that are important for you?
Basics.
Yeah.
Absolute basics. So again, that's one of my favorite parts about being a doctor is that it means teacher. And if I can live my experience, I get to teach that. What I know to be true is that if you focus on the basics, you will see change.
And what are those basics?
So mostly movement, mindfulness, nutrition, and recuperation. If you can hit all, I'll add a fifth one in there, community. Movement you have to do. It's just what keeps our body moving. Motion is lotion, movement's medicine. You have a better understanding of where your arms are in space when you move your arms more often, right? It's a skill. You will feel better. Everything will be nice and loose. And then we have the mindfulness part where we have to pay attention to how our thought patterns change us. If you're in the gym and you're trying to bench press something heavy, and you're just like, oh, this sucks, and you're pushing through it, that creates this massive stress response through the entire body. Just you saying this sucks one time. If you are bench pressing and it's just not going well, but you go, yes, and you finish it and you rack it, it doesn't do that whole stress response thing. So I think paying attention to your thought patterns and how you live your life, a lot of self-reflection, make sure that you're on the right growth path, and spending time how you want to do, make sure life is fulfilling. That's a big piece of mindfulness. Nutrition, pretty commonplace nowadays in society of just we need organic whole foods.
Yeah.
The closer it is to its raw form, the healthier it's going to be for you.
Mm-hmm.
The more it gets away from that, like even just cooking a zucchini takes it away from that raw form, even just a little bit.
Yeah.
Will take away or diminish the vitamins,
the nutrients. Yeah.
So organic whole foods most of the time. I like to say you can have your cake and eat it too. It's just balance. And then the recuperation is something a lot of people struggle with, surprisingly. A lot of people think of rest and sleep when they think of recuperation, but to give an example, if you're out with the boys or out with the girls one night, you're not thinking about the responsibilities you have as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
You're having fun in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's very good for your mental and physical well-being, right? So teaching people recuperation, you do have to have fun in life. You do have to have a little aha, wonder, and excitement mode.
Like what fills your cup up? Like what do you enjoy doing?
Yes. Yeah. You have to have that.
Yeah.
And that's why, same with like food. You can have your cake and eat it too.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I move my body somehow, some way every day. Whether it's just swinging a kettlebell around for 10 minutes, that's like my bare minimum, or I go to the gym for 2 hours, it's like my upper echelon day.
Yeah.
Nutrition is pretty basic. I found a good routine that works for me. My go-to is eggs, sweet potatoes, and ground beef. Dude, I will.
Is that and that's your breakfast?
That's
or
a
just
lot
like
of meals for me.
every meal. That sounds like yeah. I love. We started doing like pan fried. Leah found this recipe. My wife. We slice up the sweet potatoes, and it's like just like a garlic, salt, and pepper seasoning or something like that. And you just grill them and fry them in the pan with a little bit of butter, and they're so good.
So good.
So good.
Yeah, those are sweet potatoes, and yams are actually really good for testosterone too.
Oh, okay.
Building up the male hormones and everything. But yeah, so that pretty much stays clean. I have a smoothie a day, so a lot of fruit. I'll put like spinach and peanut butter and Greek yogurt in there for some extra protein and stuff.
Yeah.
For recuperation, man, I love video games still. I know I said it earlier. That was where a lot of my childhood came from. It's hard to put them down. It lights me up somehow. So making sure that I still have time to do that. It's not every day. It's when I have time. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes 2 hours. I'll just take what I can.
Yeah.
And then the mindfulness is one of my favorite aspects of health. A lot of people call me pretty shot out, and I have a lot of weird questions for people.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm always exploring this inner reality.
Yeah.
It's like, what is everything? You know, I'm a big philosophy nerd. So paying
it's like
attention
that post you put out on, or the story you put out on social with like the different universes, or like the amount of universes. It's like insane.
Yeah, it's my favorite. I love it. But it takes a lot of reflection. Sometimes it's breath work, meditation. It's more often breath work. And then on like big days, journaling. Journal about whatever you're trying to focus on. So for me, I had a very hard time socializing as a kid, and even as a young adult. Now that I'm in a professional people business, I need to communicate really well. So a lot of my stuff is based on communication. So I'll take time every night or every morning, whenever I can, to reflect on what I'm focusing on.
Go hang out with Dr. Evan.
Yes.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you being here, dude. That was
Thank
fun.
you. This was awesome.
Yeah.
Cool little flow.
Yeah, I like it. We'll do it again.
Please, I would love to. Can we get like Caleb or Detro in here too?
So Caleb, we talked about that last time. We were like, we got to get like the three of us in here or something like that.
We
yeah.
would rip.
Yeah. Yeah. We might have to, I don't know what we would do with that episode, but like, yeah, we would, like the one Caleb that's coming out, will be before this one's posted, but, when we went for, I think 2 hours or something like that.
Wow. Let's
Yeah.
go.
And we just like sat down and just started, we just kept going,
Yeah.
you know, and we're just like, all right.
He's such an easy guy to talk to.
Yeah, for sure. Sweet. Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.